is Super Robinson Brothers, the podcast companion to our game review webcomic. I'm Nick.
And I'm Nate.
And we're real-life brothers who play a bunch of different games and then we review them all as a webcomic at superrobinsonbros.com. And today we're going to be talking about the Untitled Goose game.
But no. What's the name of the game?
Oh, I thought you might pull one of these just terrible.
It's not the start of an episode for our podcast if we don't have one bad joke, and then followed quickly by like 30 more bad jokes. But we got the first one out of the way. It's the hardest one.
All right, so this one is from House.
I love that the Untitled Goose game is made by a studio called House. Like it's just they don't take any of this naming stuff seriously, and I love that.
And published by Panic. So like those guys are awesome from the whole Mac software world, and they also published Firewatch. So now they're dipping their toes in the, or should I say, Webfoot? What do they got? Dipping something into the water with the Untitled Goose game, which just came out with a co-op mode. So of course, as we are always, the most timely to review things here at Super Robinson Bros, we decided to check this thing out.
That's right. Yeah, so it's kind of a different game. I didn't really know what to expect getting into it. I saw all the memes and all the jokes about geese for the last year or two since this game was announced, and everyone got their hands on it. And it I thought this might be kind of. I was a little worried getting into this game. I thought that this was going to be potentially just a,
do geese worry you?
Yes, I'm terrified. Listen, I told you that in secret. Please do not let the untold millions who listen to our podcast know about my goose phobia.
We can edit that out.
We'll get that out of there. We'll make sure that no one's ever aware of that crippling fear I have.
Yeah.
But no, the first thing that came to mind when I heard about this game was, oh god, this is like a goat simulator. I don't know if you played that or saw that. It was that was a funny 30-second joke, and then it was like, oh, there's a game here. Someone spent a lot of time building, some. It just runs out of its, it runs out of its.
It's a gimmick really that is funny for a minute, and then there's just not that much depth unless you're just that into the gimmick,
right?
I could see why you would think maybe that this is that.
I was worried it was just a bunch of jokes and a bunch of gags and a gaggle about the geese, and then you just move right on, but. There's a game here. This is a puzzle game. This is basically a point and click puzzle game where you play as the titular goose, wreaking havoc across this small English. I don't know why I think it's English. Yeah. There's no words in the game.
It feels very
small, country
very
town.
European.
It does feel European. And you're basically tasked with all these little puzzles. Where you have to go around and accomplish different tasks. You have to go get this gardener wet, or steal his hat, and you don't really get any clues. You just have a couple tools at your disposal. You can pick things up in your mouth. You can honk at things, and you can kind of flap your wings, and that's pretty much it.
That's about it. Yeah.
And the game's all about poking at different things, picking at different objects in the environment, and
sometimes
seeing
literally what
reacts, what happens as a result of that,
right?
And then trying.
So it's not so much you have very limited controls, so you're not really really studying a scene super deeply and trying to figure out a strategy or something at the beginning, because you do get these little clues about go do the thing, but you don't know how to do the thing. Sometimes you don't even know where the thing is, and so like Nate said, it's really about sort of exploring, walking around a little bit, trying to piece the different clues together. And then ultimately, just causing some ruckus to see if that starts to get you in the right direction.
You are a total nuisance. There's not a single one of your objectives that you get in the game which are just handed down to you.
I am.
By
That's
someone
so rude. I am not a nuisance.
Yeah. Quick aside, Nick.
I'm a co-host.
You're such a jerk. All the objectives which are handed down to you in this weirdly written journal good there's amazing. Yes. This goose has amazing handwriting,
beautiful penmanship,
penmanship, and it's again,
that's
things
what
we
a
just
weird
mentioned.
Choice.
And you just are kind of left on your own to figure that stuff out, and it's kind of this comedy of you just making a jerk of yourself to the people in this township, and just finding out which of these terrible things do I want to do first.
But it's not that you're doing necessarily mean things to them, you have to, but if you're trying to sort of go along the journey and like explore a little bit, you're moving things around that the people don't want moved around. You're opening things up that they don't want opened, and everybody generally wants. They seem very proper and very much into order because they always want to put it right back in its right place and undo what you've done. So in that case, in that sense, you do very much find yourself as a nuisance pretty early on. But it's not like you have to come in here and just try to like ruin everyone's life.
No, it's not it's like a sandbox game in some ways, in that like there's all these things that you can play with and see how they interact with each other, but it's not just like Grand Theft Goose where you're just laying waste to the township. Like you're there for a very like each area you're exploring is a small pocket of variables, a small pocket of like characters, and you're just trying to figure out how to combine those things. And yeah, you're not killing people. You're just it's wonderfully.
Oh, you didn't find that level?
It's like the things that you're doing are wonderfully just on the level of annoying, and like it's the things that a goose would actually do. It's I mean a sentient goose who could try to just like tear apart a town's psyche one by one. But there's just this like, it's never. I want to talk about so much of this game, but the puzzles are focused around things that are never like overtly malicious. Typically, it's more just like, haha, I force you to, go barefoot, or maybe I broke a vase here or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, you don't get that in games. Usually it's like, I don't know, solve this massive problem for these people, or defeat this villain, or save the world. And this is like, I don't know, get the gardener wet, steal his keys, lock him out of the garden. Like,
there are all these small little fun little goofy things, but I think that you did hit on something there that is pretty different from a lot of games, in that narratively speaking, you start out very much just dropped into it, and you have these tiny tasks, but that's basically the whole game. Yes. You just keep unlocking more tiny tasks, so you're just kind of going through this thing, and you never really know what it's mounting towards. And without giving anything away at about the ending, or it basically embraces that all the way throughout, but you never really find yourself it's so simple and kind of straightforward that you also, I don't think, pine for some deeper meaning, or what is the goose's true mission throughout this game. So
there's not some hidden narrative here or anything like that. There's not even dialogue in the game. Like, everything's communicated via gestures and the pantomime. Yeah, the character will kind of like an image of like what they want is displayed above their heads sometimes.
Very cartoony.
Very cartoony. A lot
of motion and stuff is like like motion lines, and it's very like gag based, right? All these little tiny little designed gags, and the way that the levels, I don't know if the stages, whatever, basically yards, or
you get like an increasingly large amount of room that you can explore within this town.
But they're all very well designed and like really like tight little packages, so that you do unlock a new set, and then you're really focused on that area. So it's not also like you have to draw on some deep knowledge from earlier on.
No, that's one of the things I really like about the game, is like usually with point and click adventures, I feel like so many of them, like you get to a point where there's just so many places you can go, and so many possible combinations of items and characters, and just all these variables that you're just like, you can't keep straight, or you just have to eventually, trial and error your way through a puzzle or something. Right. And that never happens with this. This is so focused, so bite-sized at a time, that it's like, okay, every time I get to a new area, there's like 20 things that I can really, kind of mix and match. And like, I'll figure it out pretty quick. It's not a very difficult game. I mean, you're going to beat this game in a couple of hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Yeah. But it's just pleasant, and like it's just a fun toy to poke at, and kind of like just see what reacts from your ridiculous antics.
Right.
And like that's I think I was going to say like it's a real. I'm trying to say compliment to pay to its design. Like it's hard to do games like this, I think, where Ironically, it's hard to do games that are small and focused in this way, especially puzzle games, like to kind of get away from a lot of the noise and just focus in on what's important. It's not like
there's no like goose inventory or like special combos or.
And there's a lot of like. It's also really hard in puzzle games to introduce a bunch of red herring elements and not have them feel annoying. And they never feel annoying in this game. It's like, oh, there's a random like apple that I could hear. Is this important? No, but okay, it's just part of the set dressing and kind of fun, like seeing what happens with it. And like so many times you're rewarded, even if it is like a red herring to the puzzle, that like there's a weird interaction that happens with this particular item or this particular character that is paid off in like just a minor way that I really appreciate. Our chat is now honking at us, which is terrific. Thank you very much. The honk in the game, since you bring it up, chat, is like the funniest thing in the world. Like it rarely does anything in the game of note. It's more about like it actually has two functions. I feel like one, there's kind of a stealth aspect to this game, right? Like you're definitely like sort of sneaking around, waiting for humans to kind of like turn their eye, and so the honk can kind of like set them off, and it's like tapping on the wall for a Solid Snake. Like you can kind of draw enemies' attention. And the other one is just like I use it so often out of frustration. I'm like, this puzzle should have worked, and this human's like now they found me out. They've stole the item back. And I'm just gonna honk at them, and I thought that was like hilarious. Like I'm getting into the character of the game.
Express yourself through this like very limited control set. But you're totally right. The way that it's super simple, super streamlined game, and even the visuals. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention just how tight and dialed in the visuals are. They're just like they're very simple. It feels cartoony, but it just works so well because this game is not overstated in any way. It's just like just the right amount of everything that it attempts.
It totally is. Yeah.
So I just love that about it. It's just kind of like a fun little quirky, tone for the whole thing, and it really just carries that all the way through. They did such a good job with that, and you're totally right about the honk. It's just fun sometimes to just kind of get angry, honk at somebody, and run away. And I have to say too, like the animations are just perfect. Like there's nothing more satisfying than this little goose waddling around, like running from the scene of a crime or something, and it really. Just to kind of dissipate that with the goofy tone of an animal, it's just so good. It really would not work with like some kind of humanoid character or something, I don't think.
Man, I don't think I had realized until you said it just how much the animations play into selling the characters of the game, and they do. They're terrific. It just feels cartoony in all the right ways. The visual style, you're right, is like kind of this flat, like there's no hard lines and things. It's all just color based, which I think it looks amazing. It feels almost like a diorama or something like that of this town. And another part of the presentation that we haven't touched on yet that I think is a big part of why this game works too is the music. It's so good. It's like not the thing that I ever would have thought that I would be talking about in this game when we first picked it up. But it's really simple, and it's just basically I think it's just a piano, but it's like a pianist basically playing live accompaniment to what the antics you're doing, and like obviously
it
not
feels
that.
live.
Like, it feels
that
live.
is a very hard thing to strike in a game.
It does it so well. It feels like you're in, like it just heightens that cartoony aspect where it feels like I'm being chased by a human right now, and I've got their item that they want, and like the piano just kind of picks it up like
right. And what Nate's describing is basically like it feels live because when the tension raises, it seamlessly flows like without skipping a beat. Ugh. But basically, like, the tempo increases, the tension, they start to layer in more pieces where it really does just kind of like, oh my god, tension building, and then it just dissipates. But it does so in a way that like there's no cuts. You don't feel like, oh, it's it's cueing this other piece of music, but it's just this one long continuous thing. So it almost does feel like there's like a live pianist sitting there next to you, just playing along with what they're seeing and reacting to the moment. And it's almost like this thing where it's so subtle in a way because it works so well, just like with all the other things and mechanics in this game that are working nicely, that are simple, but like that is so hard to do that I don't even think I've experienced that in another game before. But it probably only works because it's this nice, relaxing piano, single, no accompaniment kind of thing.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, for putting words to my terrible
I liked your
music
notes,
descriptions. It sounds just like a piano. It's right there next to me. I think it works for that very reason. Like it's a small game, small focus, quiet look, quiet vibe, and like the audio is a perfect accompaniment to it. Other games obviously have contextual scores. You'll get into a gunfight in like a shooter, and all of a sudden the gun, the musical pickup. But
Sure.
There's something about just how simple and small it is. Like it does literally just feel like there's one pianist right next to you the whole time, just playing up your antics. And man, that it just heightens the comedy. And like I want to talk about the comedy of this game. Like this game, we talked a lot about the puzzles. We talked a lot about the structure and some of the presentation. This is one of, if not my favorite comedic games of all time. And
wow.
And there were so many times in this game where I was laughing out loud. That is rare in games.
Sure.
I think at large. It's hard to make a funny game because it's hard to write something that can go off in usually a bunch of different ways, or there's a bunch of funny games out there.
Sure.
At the top of my list are things like Portal and like some of the point and click classics that like Nick and I are raised on, like Monkey Island and everything from LucasArts. But maybe jazz punk in recent years, but those are very different styles of humor and very different ways of achieving that humor.
Right.
It's like clever writing, clever dialogue.
Right. It's so much harder to do with no words, right?
There's no words,
animations and gags. It's like a silent movie versus something more modern. So it's
exactly,
it's even harder
it's the design that makes it funny. Like it's someone was like, well, what would be a hilarious thing for this goose to have to do, or what weird funny capabilities should you have, and like how can these things interweave? And the reactions of the humans in the world, like. Just laugh out loud, hilarious the entire time, and maybe it's the scale. Maybe it's also the scale of it. Like, but that's
awesome.
It's so hard to do. I can't think of another game that does this well, where it is the design is funny and not necessarily the writing.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. Did you feel the same way? Were you laughing? Were you just kind of smile on your face?
Yeah, I'm more, I think, mentally stable than you, and so I don't generally sit by myself just laughing out loud to alert the neighbors, and the police inherently get called and all that. But I'm just shocked to hear you say it was like that funny. I thought it was like. To the same reasons that you're pointing out, though, it's like these funny little situations with just the perfect setups, and often there's these like just awesome little moments where it's like, is that really gonna happen? It's gonna happen. Oh my god, that just happened. That's so good. But it's more just like a smile on my face and kind of just like a little, it's just delightful. It's just fun.
Delightful is a good word for it.
What's there not to like about that? That's great. No, you should definitely check yourself in to something, some kind of program. I mean, I can help.
Comic writing will definitely make you wonder about making jokes in your head to yourself all the time. So listen, I'm no stranger to this.
But it is a funny game. It is like the whole premise is obviously pretty funny, pretty goofy all around.
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
If you have a cold black heart, this game is probably not for you. And there you go. There's the review. You were asking for a review. Boom.
I don't want to spoil anything about this game. It's not a long game. There's not too much to that I want to go into. But like, I will say the ending I thought was pitch perfect. Like,
if there was a moment that was like, oh, they got me, or it's really good. It was the ending. It was really funny.
The whole sequence, like everything from when you unlock the final area to like when you see credits roll was so clever and just like
the whole nothing. I mean, with any like joke punchline, especially when you don't have words, pace is such an important thing. Like all the hilarious timing, all the hilarious things that I say on this podcast, for example, and then Nate says other stuff that's just not nearly as funny, and so you guys get it. But I have to say, like, they're masters of pace and timing with the way that the end of the game ramped. It's just, oh man,
so
like if
you
just start playing the game, you have to get to the end. It's really satisfying.
I love chat's giving you crap right now, Nick, for your review quote. If you have a cold black heart, this game is not for you. It's the new fans of the genre, or like that review applies to nobody. So good work there, Nick. You're making your way.
Thank you. That's usually the litmus test that I at least look at games with. knowing that I have a cold black heart. Like, would I really like this? I'm
one
despicable.
more thing I want to touch on before we move off of this game, or we wrap up things, would be the co-op mode.
Yes,
which came out just as we were playing the game.
As we knew, because we had some intel or whatever. No, we didn't. Luck of the draw, timing.
Yeah, it's we were really looking forward to it all month long. Our Discord channel, we were kind of like counting the days until the co-op mode came out, and it came out,
Right.
and it's co-op. I think it's online. I'm not sure. It's local.
Is that
for
your
sure,
review
but
there too?
yeah, it came out as co-op, but I'm kind of disappointed by it. Like
What?
It's funny. It's like almost sometimes twice as funny when you have two
yeah.
geese running around, like running around and honking at the different characters. Like it's just a circle of honk you just can't get away from for the humans trapped in this world.
Did you
But
write that line?
I did. Yeah, I've been working on it for a
Circle
week.
of
Like the problem with it though, I think that was disappointing to me was that it does two things. Or rather, it does one and doesn't do another. It makes the game very easy. Because so much of the game is all about like just trying to like set up a situation to occupy the humans and then running away and taking the thing you need.
Right. Like you need some kind of distraction, basically.
Right. And if you have someone that's like always a permanent distraction, it just kind of invalidates a lot of the puzzles in the game, I felt like.
Right.
And then two, we were really excited for more content, more puzzles.
Totally.
And that didn't happen. So,
Right.
it
Those
was
things
kind
I
of a
think are like
letdown.
very much like intertwined in the sense that my expectation. I mean, they built this thing up, and my expectation, and it is. I had to say, it's super cool that you can control two different geese.
Totally.
You can tell them apart. They look different. They sound different, etc. But the fact that they're like, it's really just. It's kind of actually how we opened this thing, talking about the goat simulator thing, where it's really just like the gimmick of it is kind of fun. I could see it if it was a little bit more difficult for kids or something like that, like maybe bringing it down a notch to where they can kind of play around as well. But I was really expecting there to be specific content catered to you must have two geese to accomplish this unique goal or puzzle or whatever. And I didn't really see that. But I have to say also that I didn't really play all that much of it. I played one stage and just kind of it's like, okay, I've seen it. I got the gimmick. It's funny. Nice job. Haha. But
I didn't go super deep with it either. Once I realized that there wasn't anything new in the areas you'd already been to, that I was like, okay. I kind of bailed after a little bit after poking around with my wife in the game. And I think you're totally right. It is a good thing that they have it. I'm not like, I think we had perhaps assumptions about what the mode would be, and so unfair and everything. But it is a terrific way to kind of like play the game and experience it the first time. It does lower the challenge. You're not necessarily here for the challenge, you're here for the laughs, so like it's fine. And you're playing with your kids or whatever, like you'll have a blast. It does make
just
me
like
go
a jerk. Like if you're just like a jerk goose and you just love being a jerk to people, I mean, there's no better way than
if you have
to
a cold
terrorize
dead heart
human.
and you don't have friends,
There you go.
then
Co-op
not a
mode is
game
for you.
If you live in a castle and there's like lightning bolts all the time, you have a cold dead heart, and you like maybe I don't know. Anyways, but the last thing I was gonna say is like it makes me want like so if Goose Game is like Portal 1, I want the Portal 2 for Goose Game now, where it is designed in such a way that like there are two geese, and here are a bunch of bespoke missions for like Portal 2 had like the single player component that was hilarious, and then also like a totally different co-op campaign that played with the strengths of having two geese.
Right, and it had portals that you could travel through. So I understand. You're saying if they add that to this game, you'll like it more. Got it.
Yes.
Totally understood your point.
And then what if they had like four geese? Like,
all right, well, okay. So that would be just that's just like
just
murderous.
get like a gaggle mode.
I mean, at that point, honestly, if you have enough birds, we've all seen the movie, you could do some real damage on these humans.
Okay, I see where you're going, Nick. I like it.
What threshold is, but
I like it. It's a gaggle royale. It's a gaggle royale, and 100 geese drop onto an island. And
oh
man, don't you want that? I want a gaggle royale.
Okay. So I came into this thing thinking this thing is going to be a 4, but then I heard you say, I was speaking for me, and I should say, as we always say, that we're on a scale of 5. But then I heard you say that this was the funniest game that you've ever played in your life.
It's definitely up there for me.
In a way, if you don't give that a 5, I mean, what are you doing? So Nate, what are you gonna give this game?
Wait. I feel like I've tipped my hand. Okay, I'll go first, but I don't want to. I don't want to change
So
the way you come out with your rating here. So for me, it's a 5. Like this is the only thing that I really wish that there was more of in this game is that there was more of it, and they added a bunch more content and variety. But as it is, it's practically perfect. No aspect of it is bad. It's all well thought out. It leaves you wanting more. I wish that there was more. I wish it was a longer game if it could. Like they add some cool things at the end for you to kind of go back and do, which is like perfect.
Did you check everything off?
I did. I don't want to spoil anything. I didn't do everything. I did all the. I will say I did all the puzzles. I didn't do all the extra challenges that kind of came with it. But and I think some of those are fun and like you get extra variables that kind of add to it. Anyways, I'm getting off my track. Like this is a very completely well designed, well thought through, limited, well edited, well presented game that I struggle to find any problems with it. I love it. I wish I could. Like it's gonna be fun just to kind of go back and kind of play it again and 2 years when I forget everything about it and just like want a palate cleanser.
That's a nice thing too. Honestly, is the fact that the puzzles are so small and short that there's nothing like you really spoil. Like you could definitely go back to it and you forget little details about it, and just like interacting with the world is fun enough.
Oh man, and now like Chad is saying Goose Game and Rampage or Goose Game 2 turns out to be a horror movie, and both of those are hilarious.
See? That's what I like, a Halloween overlay, and then it's like, oh my god, the goose.
Give me a Goose Game where you're playing from the perspective of the humans and like trying to goose-proof this town or something, or just like living in constant fear. That I think would be terrific. I would be down for it.
Humans were all so kind, though. They never like took this goose. I would just take. No,
they didn't cook the goose.
Want to see that. They did not cook the goose. I guess I don't know. I'm a little bit torn because I feel like I don't want to knock the game for it is like a perfect little package, and I appreciate when a game does not overstate its welcome. And that it knows what it is, and I think that this game, more than any other game probably that I think I've played, knows exactly what it is, and it's not trying to do anything more than that, and it's just like polishing those pieces that it is. But the thing that I just felt like there wasn't. I felt myself wanting a bit more, and I just felt like the sort of added layers of the various puzzles just felt like they were going back to the well in the same way. And I don't remember any specific exact examples, but it's like do this little puzzle. Okay, now do this little puzzle, in this slightly different way or with this little bit of extra thing on top. And I don't know. I wasn't really interested in that, so I didn't check off all that much outside of kind of the main line. Okay. But again, I don't know that I could really fault it for that. But it presented those things, and so I just felt like on that. From a checklist standpoint, it just felt like that was their way of trying to expand this thing, and it was kind of a weak way to do it, in my opinion. But like, if that's the only knock, honestly, I could be convinced into a 5. I really enjoyed this game. It's really fun.
So for you, it's either a 4 or a 5.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, I will talk you into a 5 then. The music, Nick. The music alone. The cleverness of the final area. All the little terrible things you have to do to the humans. All the little fun little Easter eggs you find about how you interact with the world and like things that are not necessarily part of the puzzles, but that ends up being not.
But here's the thing, Nate. Is who's giving this goose orders? Who's
behind the goose? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Who wrote these notes? Because clearly the webfoot didn't.
Who does the goose work for?
I mean, that's just such a critical flaw, isn't it, of the narrative? I mean, I'm totally joking, but at the same time, I'm like, now I kind of want to know who gave this goose these orders,
and why can the goose read? And then how are they marking? Yeah. Yes. So we're going with a 5. You're just toying with me now.
That's fine.
Okay.
Oh
Cool.
my
So for
God.
5 for us is a treasure it. I recommend everybody play it, and highest recommendation. Cool. Well, that was awesome. Thanks to everyone who helped pick this game on our
Yes.
Patreon. All of our patrons votes every month on what we play, and this was picked by them. And then thanks to everyone who played this game with us in our Discord channel. So again, every game we play every month, we play with our patrons and people on our Discord channel, our community there, and it was a ton of fun swapping notes with them on this one. So looking forward to what's next. But if you're curious on either one of those, you can go to srbcomic.com/Patreon to find out more about the Patreon, or srbcomic.com/Discord for the Discord channel. Nick.
Beautifully stated, Nate.
Yeah.
Beautifully stated. As always, you guys, thank you so much for listening. It always helps if you tell a friend about this podcast, rate and review and all that jazz. Follow us, smash that like button, etc. Thanks again, and we'll be back soon with another game.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be Nate.